would be the one taking the oath of office on that dais. We'll never know, but it certainly is interesting to think about.
It is, because once that happened with the pandemic, and you look back at all that has happened since, as we take a live look here now at the White House also and around D.C., you do have to wonder how things may have been different had coronavirus never hit on so many levels. How things may have been different for our country, but also for President Trump, because he did have accomplishments that were very, very popular within the party, even the party who initially weren't too thrilled to have President Trump as their leader. I can recall being at Mar-a-Lago prior to 2016, prior to the election, and then House Speaker Paul Ryan, who was, the leader of the Republican Party at that point. 2 days before the election, Paul Ryan came out and really bashed President Trump, and I can remember reporting, here we are 2 days out from an election, and the top Republican in D.C. is bashing the Republican nominee. That is what this president came into. He did face obstacles, unlike many other presidents have had to face, including within his own party. And you mentioned, it's almost like it's being bookend now. He faced that red wall of the establishment within his own party because he is such an outsider coming in, and it would appear he's facing it to a degree going out. You mentioned Mitch McConnell on the Senate floor yesterday when the Senate reconvened, saying this riot mob was provoked, he said, by Trump, which is, of course, the allegation of the impeachment article against him. And he talked about the supporters of Trump saying they were, quote, fed lies. And he also asserted, though, that there was no broad mandate by either party in 2020, and that is where Mitch McConnell will try to manage the margins, so to speak. And you're taking a live look now. We'll get back to that conversation in just a moment. We want to look now. This is where President-elect Joe Biden is arriving at the church service. He is at St. Matthew's Catholic Church, along with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who during the day of impeachment voted against impeachment, the top Republican in the House, but also said he felt like the president did bear some responsibility for what had happened during that riot. You'll also have here House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is attending this church service, Chuck Schumer, soon to be the majority leader, and also Mitch McConnell is here at this church service. President-elect Biden is a man of deep Catholic faith, and this church is a historical church. The president-elect will be the second Catholic to be elected president, the first, of course, John Kennedy, and this is actually where Jacqueline Kennedy held President Kennedy's funeral mass after he was assassinated. And they are holding mass here today prior to the inauguration of Joe Biden. And we have been saying all along, and you can't overstate it, just how different this particular inauguration is for reasons relating to the pandemic, and also just the extraordinary circumstances that we find ourselves in politically right now. So you've got on the left side of your screen the outgoing president, and on the right side of your screen, that is the motorcade for the incoming president as he heads to church prior to his inauguration today, where he will take the oath of office along with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. You see the crowd of supporters there out on the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews, waiting for Air Force One to take off. And now, listening, there, the plane is pulling off, so it is headed to Palm Beach. Let's head over to our Angie Andrews, who is there in Palm Beach and has been reporting and talking to the president's supporters about how they're feeling right now. And Angie, he talked about his 75 million voters. He told them we will be back in some form. I'm not sure anybody knows quite yet what to expect that means. But what have you heard from his supporters who maybe feel like those who have criticized this president over the years, and particularly laying blame at his feet for what happened at the Capitol on the 6th, who maybe these supporters might feel like they have been painted with too broad of a brush, that there's a lunatic fringe to every movement, and to sort of be painted as everyone who supports the president is a bigot, is a racist, is a white supremacist, feeling that, you know, they're being ostracized right now because of what happened. How are they feeling about the events of the past couple of weeks?
You know, Holly, I'm really glad you asked that question. I asked a very similar question to actually a group of supporters that's right over here to my side just a couple of minutes ago, who were watching President Trump's speech on the live stream, and they said they loved that he said, "We love you and we'll see you soon." Again, that's kind of cryptic. We don't know what that means. But these particular supporters told me that today they feel is a really sad day for them. They also feel like they've been ostracized and looked at in a bad light, when in reality they said they just love their president and they love the work he's done when it comes to policy, when it came to tax cuts. One particular person said when it came to abortion, there were many different policies that they just really respect what he's done, and they want to say thank you. And that's something I heard from every supporter I talked to. Said, why are you out here in the sun? Why are you out here for hours beforehand, you know, in large groups, to be honest, not particularly safe for anyone at this matter. And they said he needs to know how much he's loved, and they want to just say thank you for what he's done, and they believe that that's the welcome that he deserves around, you know, noontime today when he drives into Mar-a-Lago. So that's what I've been hearing on and off, Holly. We know that they are, you know, getting ready for him to be here. I would say at this point, just looking around, I can probably count about 20 or so supporters out here. Those I spoke to yesterday said they'd be out here at around 9:30. So I think by the next time that we check in, it's going to be a much different picture here by the time that Trump comes driving down Southern Boulevard. I mean, I think we're going to see almost that same energy that we just saw at his final speech with, you know, the I love you and, you know, the yelling, because that's what the group here I've spoken to says that they're planning to do as soon as they see that motorcade start.
And they'll be doing that greeting and then that a welcome to Florida about the same time that the president-elect will be inaugurated. Angie, thank you for that. I know you'll be watching as that happens. Let's go back now and continue talking to Josh here about the day ahead as we are watching Air Force One get ready to take off. Last time the president will be on Air Force One as he heads to Florida and leaves Washington, D.C. Mitch McConnell, Josh, who is with the president-elect right now, also said yesterday that no party, neither party, Democrat or Republican, was given a broad mandate in 2020. That's going to be an ongoing theme that we're going to see in Washington, D.C. How do you expect these, you know, this new day dawning in Washington, D.C. To go? I mean, this president-elect has a big agenda ahead of him. He wants to get immigration reform right away. He's got almost a $2 trillion COVID-19 stimulus plan. How is D.C. going to govern?
That's a very good question, and I should note, I think, Holly, I'm 99.9% sure that as this plane is departing, we were hearing the soundtrack, which was Frank Sinatra's My Way, a wonderful song. I just thought that it was interesting color to note. Look, the Senate will be divided 50-50. It will be divided 50-50 as of, I believe it's going to be either later today or tomorrow. It hasn't been publicly released when the two winners of the recent runoff in Georgia, John Ossoff and the Reverend Raphael Warnock, are going to be sworn in. At that point, if there's any tie, like who will be the leader, Kamala Harris, who will in a little bit less than 3 hours, will be the vice president, will be able to break that tie as president of the Senate. It is not a broad mandate for either party, that's true. In the House, actually, Republicans have gained seats, and Nancy Pelosi only recently was reelected as House Speaker by a narrow majority. So there's going to have to be compromise for sure. What's also interesting, and this gets back to what we were speaking about before, is that the Republican Party is split, and we'll have to see if there's going to be compromises for Democrats, or if there's going to be more of a towing the line to staying more of an obstructionist party.
All right, Josh, as you're talking here, we're just watching as the president flies away to Mar-a-Lago on Air Force One. And yes, you're absolutely right. You pointed out that Frank Sinatra's My Way was playing as that happened. No doubt that was by design, and that was a song that we've heard at countless rallies before the president would come out and take the stage. That's a song that he identifies with. And one thing that whether you are completely against this president or you support him 100%, he did do things his way for the better or for the worse, depending on how you look at it. And the fact is, in this country, is you have two groups of people who look at that question very differently. How did the president govern? What does he leave behind? You know, we are a shining light of democracy to the world. We always have been that shining light on a hill to hold up the values of democracy. And unfortunately, right now, that capital, the nation's capital, is locked down and secure. We're going to see an inauguration today, unlike any we have ever seen before, in many ways, and in terms of the security right now to keep people out are not going to be able to attend, and it's going to be a visual reminder today of the divisions that exist in our country. We will be following it all for you live here on Spectrum News. We invite you to join us again at 11 o'clock when we start our special coverage of the inauguration of Joe Biden. Stick with your local channel. We will have our team of experts throughout the day, starting at 11 a.m. on this very historic Inauguration Day.
Snow across the northern half of the state as we had some snow showers develop yesterday throughout the overnight hours, but finally seeing a lot of that taper on off this morning. And as we head toward the afternoon, some of us further south are going to get lucky, seeing a better chance for some sunshine and clouds thinning out, especially for areas across southern Ohio. Doesn't matter where you are throughout the state today, it will be a cold day, and this is pretty much our big weather story as we head throughout your Wednesday afternoon. Most of us are going to be dry for today, a little cloudier further north, and we'll have a better chance for some of those clearing skies further south. But temperatures from north to south, it is cold. Most of us right now still only in the 20s, and because of winds are out of the west-northwest direction, we've got wind chills as low as the teens to 20s. And this is the number you want to pay attention to even as we head toward the afternoon, because again, it will be a cold day. We are going to be tracking those wind chills pretty much in the teens and 20s all afternoon long. I'm going to break down more of your local forecast coming up and your next Weather on the Ones.
Thank you, Robin. Here's a look at your Wednesday morning headlines. The Ohio Department of Job and Family Services is now issuing $300 payments to eligible unemployment claimants following a new system programming update. The distribution is made possible by the Federal Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021. Claimants will receive 11 weeks of supplemental weekly payments. Those payments will be retroactive to December 27, 2020, to ensure all eligible claimants will receive their full compensation benefits. To see if you're eligible and for further updates, you can visit jfs.ohio.gov/CAA. 96% of Ohio's public school districts are agreeing to return to buildings at least partially by March 1st. This according to Governor Mike DeWine. Governor DeWine saying that date is contingent on school districts being supplied with coronavirus vaccine doses. The projected timeline for vaccinations to begin for school staff is February 1st. Governor DeWine says schools can work with local health departments for vaccine administration or find a partnership through working with the state. Ohioans will now have the opportunity to remain an active voter under a more secure and accurate registration system. Secretary of State Frank LaRose directed County Board of Elections to remove abandoned registrations out of the voter rolls. The voter list maintenance process is required under state and federal laws. Residents could end up on the abandoned list due to multiple registrations, not canceling an original registration because of a recent move or death of a registrant. LaRose says this new initiative will help prevent fraud and help strengthen the confidence placed in the state's elections. And those are your Wednesday morning headlines. Today is Inauguration Day. President-elect Joe Biden is scheduled to be sworn in as the 46th President of the United States this afternoon. This coming as President Donald Trump addresses the nation one last time as president. Our Torian Small joins us from the nation's capital with more. Torian?
Yeah, Sophia, it was a much shallower crowd than the president expected to address on his way out. He gave a rundown of his greatest hits, something that I've seen on the campaign trail from the president, listing some of his perceived accomplishments. But then he also pivoted to the coronavirus pandemic as a big hindrance in the success of his term as he exits. You know, he mentioned the support that he had from his voters. He touted his record number of votes received in an election by an incumbent president, but then he also gave great praise to his immediate circle. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Been an incredible 4 years. We've accomplished so much together. I want to thank all of my family and my friends and my staff and so many other people for being here. I want to thank you for your effort, your hard work. People have no idea how hard this family worked. They worked, and they worked for you. They could have had a much easier life, but they did a fantastic job. I just want to thank all of you, everyone.
Now, it's become apparent over the past 2 weeks that that circle of support has started to shrink, especially considering Vice President Mike Pence and some of the top Republicans on the Hill decided to skip his send-off in favor of Biden's inauguration. You know, one other thing of note that I caught from his exit speech here, he said, quote, goodbye, we love you, we will be back in some form. Now, that form could be the impending Senate trial on his second inauguration coming up sometime soon. But for now, though, I'm reporting in Washington, Torian Small, Spectrum News.
As the country watches on as a new president is inaugurated, one Cincinnati business is celebrating its patriotism with a special treat. Buckabee Brownies was opened by husband and wife team Tom Cahan and Miriam Spitz almost 2 years ago. Cahan immigrated from Israel in 2016 and just last year officially became a U.S. citizen. Congratulations. The couple says when developing their business, they wanted to show their patriotism, which is why they developed their red, white, and blueberry blondie brownies. But they only do it a few times a year for American holidays, including the inauguration.
It's not a political statement, it's just an American statement. We want people to know we love this country and we want to share it with everyone else.
I like that. The red, white, and blueberry blondie is also available on Labor Day, Memorial Day, and the 4th of July. And stay with Spectrum News 1 as we get you ready for the inauguration. We will have live reports here on air throughout the morning, and our special coverage of the ceremony itself begins this morning at 11 a.m., about an hour before Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will take the oath of office. Well, it is going to start feeling much cooler this morning. Let's see what's in store for the rest of the week with an updated check of your Weather on the Ones forecast.
Thanks for joining me on this Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Robin King. So skies right now still cloudy and it is cold outside. Still, you can see some of that snow on the ground across not only Toledo, but we had some accumulating snow, some light accumulations from yesterday and into this morning from lake effect snow showers this morning across northeast Ohio. Most of that snow has tapered on off and we are just looking at a few flurries as we head throughout the rest of your morning hours. But really the big story today is it's cold outside and wind still remaining out of the northwest, which is why you can still see a few flurries flying around at times. But otherwise, most of that heavier lake effect snow has pushed out and moved out of northeast Ohio and even extending for our western communities. We are looking at, again, maybe just a few flurries, but that's about it as far as precipitation goes. It's all about temperatures for today. So here's a look at your weather story. Currently temperatures are in the 20s. We're at 25 in Defiance, 25 throughout Lima, 23 in Toledo, 22 in Tiffin, 22 in Medina, 22 right now in Cleveland Metro, and it looks like a 23 in Menor and about 23 currently in Youngstown. So temperatures this morning are in the 20s, and that's pretty much where our highs will be even as we head toward the afternoon. We're going to be battling a lot of cloud cover for today. Notice by lunchtime, still looking at cloudy skies throughout all of northern Ohio. Most of our afternoon is dry as temperatures will be in the 20s for our highs this afternoon.